both classes. I'll try to repeat myself. I'm JD Pierce. Some of y'all are not from this market center. Some of y'all from across the way, huh? Who's from me? Got some Mobile folks back there. Okay, very good. So thanks for making the drive. So here's what's interesting is, y'all just bear with it. Here's what's interesting is something I have noticed in my travels as an OP. Some of y'all may know this, that I'm operating principal for Keller Williams over 5 offices. I own 6, but I'm principal for 5. So today there's 1,200 agents listed under there. So there's a lot of agents that interact with me, and I ask this question all the time: how's business? How's it going? You know, those kind of things. I also look at the numbers quite a bit, and what I notice is that with agents showing houses, but not a lot of buyer contracts being written, or the buyer contracts that are written with a high level of fallout, especially in certain categories. Okay, and so I thought maybe we just talk about that today. Now, one of the things that I did is I got Mary Beth, who is there. Mary Beth is on my wife's team. And Mary Beth is probably one of the best buyer's agents I've ever worked with. She knows how to do the things that are necessary on the front end. So when she goes in to show the house, she gets a yes. And she doesn't show a lot of houses. She shows very few houses. How's that, Mary Beth? Is that better? We don't know yet. Yeah? Can you hear us?
We're good.
Okay, all right, very good. All right. So I thought what we would do is we would let Mary Beth tell us her tricks of the trade. Now, Mary Beth, I think your best year you did 50-some firesides. Is that your best year ever?
What was that?
Oh, can you hear me okay? Yes?
Yes, I just get a little delayed.
Okay, so your best year ever, you did 50-some firesides, right? Is it 54 your best year ever?
42.
42, okay. And
42 firesides.
42 firesides, okay. So what I want to ask you today for this group of folks, what we want to know, what do you do on the front end? What do you try to find out? So when you go to show a house, it's real easy. Now that's the first part. Second, I want you to tell us how to show a house so they say yes. So that's the second part. And I don't want to take all your time today. I know you're really busy. So, you know, if you can give us 2.5 hours, that would be great.
Truthfully, it could take 2.5 hours just because, like, I'm so passionate about this that I could literally talk all day. So I will try to be as precise and short as possible. So the idea of a buyer consultation kind of came into my business plan about 6 years ago. And really, it's because I was kind of driving all over creation, showing houses and not really understanding why I was doing that to myself and to everybody else involved. And so at family reunion, actually, I sat in on a class that somebody in like Michigan or something was holding these buyer consultations. And I'm like, that sounds like something I need to be doing. And truly, it like kind of transformed my business and how I presented myself, how I worked with buyers, and how just from the beginning, the relationship was different. So why a buyer consultation? So there's so many reasons, honestly, why you should implement this into your client strategy. But for one, it establishes professionalism. Like from day one, it's like, hey, I'm the professional, you're the client, I'm guiding you through this process, I'm your consultation, this is a consultation, and throughout the process, I'll be your consult. I'm not a salesperson.
Yeah, hey, Mary Beth.
Yeah.
Can you turn your volume up a little bit, or can you speak a little louder?
Okay.
Yeah, much better. That's better, whatever you just did.
That is better. Okay. It's funny because I talk really loud.
So Mary Beth, I'm just going to pause you a little bit along the way because I think you said some interesting things there that you were at first driving all over the place, wasting a lot of time. Is that fair? And
that is very fair.
And then also you went to family reunion, and in family reunion, you learn from other people what to do and what to do better. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So there's two things that she said already that we don't want to gloss over. Okay. There are people out there that are very good at showing houses and very good at being buyer's agents. And so in order to get better, she had to go get information from other people. So I don't want to cut you off. I just wanted to, so speak as loud as you can, because we got some folks way in the back and they want to hear your North Louisiana voice.
Yes. Okay. Is this better? My volume is literally at 100. I can't go any higher.
Yeah, you're good. Just lean in and talk loud.
Okay. All right. Get up close and personal. Okay. So what I was saying is, you should really begin to implement a buyer consultation into your client strategy for a few reasons. And I kind of like wrote some things out.
Hold on a second, Mary Beth. Let's assume that not everybody knows what a buyer's consultation is. So yeah, let's just zero it down and get elementary for us.
Okay, so a buyer consultation is a meeting, an initial meeting between a realtor and a potential client.
Okay.
And I say potential.
Yeah, so how do you, like someone says, hey, I want to show a house. I want to see a house. Do you just meet them at the house? Or you're like, oh, time out. We got to do the buyer's consultation.
Yep.
How do you handle that conversation?
So depending on how we have started this conversation, if it's someone calling from a sign, or if I'm calling my sphere, or it really kind of depends, but it all boils down to, hey, I know you're really excited about this particular house. I ask a few questions. What about this house is important to you? Is it the location? Is it da-da-da? And so they'll answer. I'm like, okay, I have a great idea. Let's meet at the office. We'll get all this out on paper. I'll know exactly what you're looking for. And then maybe after the meeting, and I can figure out if this house is an actual good fit for you, then we can schedule a showing.
So you see what she's doing there? She's qualifying the conversation, and she's asking a question that no matter what the answer is, what they say, she's saying, hey, come to the office. Like, what about this house do you like? Oh, I love this and that. Great, come to the office. What about this house? I don't even like this house. Good, come to the office. What about this house? Oh, I don't know. I'm just curious. Great, come to the office. Pretty much everything has to go through the office, right? So the qualifying questions you ask for that, what's the information you're trying to get out of that?
The initial conversation?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so if they're willing to come to the office to have a buyer meeting, that automatically shows the level of seriousness that they're willing to commit to you as an agent and to the home buying process.
Good, good. Okay, so are there certain questions that you ask to get certain information? Like what's the question? Like I think like what's the most important thing in a house? Like what does that question do and what's that driving?
In the consultation?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, there are, let me move. I'm gonna kind of like hunch my back a little bit. I walk away with knowing 5 pieces of information about whoever is sitting in front of me. And these 5 things I've really drilled down. You're taking
really loud, Mary Beth. Really
okay.
Loud.
Oh, when I move my computer, I guess it.
Yeah, get right up on it. We want to see your smile. We want to see your smiling face.
Okay. 5 things that we will need to know after consultation. 1 is their timeline.
We lost you again.
Can't hear me at all?
Yeah, that's good. That's it right there.
Okay. I didn't change anything.
I don't know. All right, so what are the 5 things?
Okay, timeline. The reason timeline is important is obviously if they are looking to purchase in the next 60 days or less, then we need to get the process going like yesterday. Even if I've done consultations where they're not going to be ready for a whole nother year. The goal is to get them in front of you to establish client realtor loyalty.
Okay, time out, Mary Beth. You want to meet them not in the house, you want to meet them in the office so you can start the rapport process. Is that right? Is there a specific question that you ask that is timeline driven?
When would you like to move into a new house?
Okay, so time out. That is so simple, and yet I can't tell you how many times I talk to an agent like, oh, I'm driving this lady around town, and you say, when does she move? Like, well, I don't really know. Because you didn't ask the question. So I'm just gonna be real with you here. The most expensive question is the one you don't ask. Right? So don't be afraid to ask a bazillion questions. Ask 50 questions so you only have to show 5 houses. If you don't ask 50 questions, you're gonna show 50 houses. And somewhere around house 10, they're not gonna remember the first house. Right? Is that right?
Spot on.
Yep. Okay. Very good. All right. I didn't mean to stop you. Now, okay, we got info number 1. What's info number 2?
Price range. This all stems from the pre-approval conversation. Obviously, we need the designated price range so that we can actually conduct a home search. And I have pretty good success with having a lender join me in a buyer consultation. This is good for a lot of reasons, but mainly because we can all literally sit down and be on the same page. And if y'all have a lender that's close proximity, like in your building or close down, they are more than willing to come and sit in with you. And it's just it's good.
Okay, so if they don't have a mortgage person, or do you have a mortgage person dial in, or like how do you speed that process up? And what questions do you ask to get to that? And like be elementary with us, it's okay.
Yeah, no, it's so much of our conversation is elementary. So really it is, are you financing your home or will you be paying cash? And the financing part is typically the answer. And so I'm like, okay, great. So in order to identify our budget, let's have a mortgage lender kind of get involved in this conversation so that we can know exactly, based on your monthly obligation that you're expecting, exactly what price range we need to filter.
Okay, so what you're trying to do is get the third party involved to set the numbers, to set the budget, right? Okay, so that gives it clarity. Do you show houses if somebody hasn't spoken to a bank yet?
It is very, very rare that I will show a house without.
Okay, y'all get that? It's very, very rare. Why is it very rare, Mary Beth? Why is it like for you? It's just you just try not to do it. Why?
I mean, to be frank, I just don't want to waste my time or the seller's time or the hope of a listing agent. Maybe, there's just so many people involved in this process for a non-serious buyer to be involved.
Okay, so time out. She's doing it really to protect a lot of people, right? So, Mr. Buyer, if you don't have your budget set by a banker or something like that, like I don't want to waste your time. But what she's really saying is, I don't want to waste all these other people's time. And by the way, do you want to be the showing agent that the listing agents all say, oh, that girl, she doesn't have a qualified buyer, I'm telling you now. You don't want to be that person. When they get a call from Mary Beth, they get excited because Mary Beth brings buyers, not lookers. Right? What do you want? You want buyers or lookers? Buyers or lookers? Buyers. Yeah, let's make sure y'all pay attention. Very good. All right, back to you, Mary Beth. So what's number 3?
Location.
Location. Why and how do you get to that?
Location can stem from a lot of different things, but really it's, are you looking at certain preferred school zones, flood zones, or
lean in a little bit. There you go. There you go.
Preferred schools brings up that conversation. Flood zones bring up that conversation, or specific neighborhoods, or if it's lack of neighborhood. And, it's all kind of filters into what their actual criteria is.
So for that one, it's a series of questions. You get kind of preferred location, right? You're asking a group of questions. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And, so this is kind of like location is an umbrella. And obviously to some people, location is nothing. That's not even a priority. But I'll get to that in a minute.
So do you ask about occupation, like where do you work, or does that come in that conversation too? That's part of it or not, or? Yes?
Yes, a lot of my meeting is rapport. Like at the end of it, I am like going to their family Christmas party. I just really but I just enjoy connecting with people. And so through conversations, even though I'm not straight up like, so tell me, where do you work? I kind of use, the clues and, it's just like having a conversation.
So you said you're going to get to that about the location. Was this another part of that you wanted to add?
It's not specifically about location, but I'm going to bring it up after the 5 things.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Keep going. I don't want to stop you. You're doing great.
Okay. So the number 4 is like the actual criteria, the needs and the wants of the house that they're.
Yeah. Expand on that. Tell us what that means. Needs and wants. What is the difference there?
Well, I ask for your must-haves. Typically, there's like 5 of the must-haves. Like, we are not looking at this house if it doesn't have blank.
What are those typical? What are the ones that always come to the surface?
No carpet. I had one the other month. Literally, we would not look at a house if it didn't have a fireplace.
Didn't have a fireplace.
Yeah.
So everyone's must-haves are different. You got to get to what they are.
Absolutely. And what's really ironic about the one that only wanted a fireplace, she bought a house that didn't have a fireplace.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So are there a series of questions? Like, do you start with bedrooms, bath? Do you start with, like, what are the things you're looking for? How do you get to that must-have?
Describe to me your dream home.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. How do you handle the husband and wife that aren't on the same page?
Oh, those are fun.
Yeah? Or you just let the wife say what's going to happen and the husband just has to suck it up? Or how do you do that?
So I am so bold to ask, obviously not straight out of the gate, but I'm like, okay, so who's really our decision maker here?
Okay.
We missed that.
Who really is the decision? She just asked us, hey, just so I know, who's really the decision maker? She asked the couple that.
She asked.
Oh, yeah. She said she's real bold.
I would.
Yeah, why not, right?
When you have the relationship that she's talking about building with someone, even they feel like they're more your friends than your clients.
Very
they're
good.
more willing to tell you.
Yeah, good.
That's absolutely right. And usually it's kind of funny. And I'm like, oh, clearly he's the decision maker. We're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
I bring humor into it. But truthfully, like exactly what she was saying, if you have the rapport, the bold questions aren't intimidating. They're just straight up.
Yeah. Okay, good. Is there one set of, like, one question that's the zinger, like you said, describe your house, whatever, and then you say who's the decision maker, and always is a little like he wants this, she wants that. How do you work through that?
It is a compromise a lot of the time between, let's say it's a husband and a wife. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's between a mom and a daughter or whatever. So I bring that up as well. Like, listen, there are some things that clearly we're not on the same page.
Hey, Mary Beth, can you lean in? There you go.
Okay.
I don't know if you're putting your hand over the mic or what, but we're.
What's happening over here? It could be my computer. JD, I think you need to
We need to invest in some better equipment, I think. So what you're saying, you bring data into the conversation? You say you bring, did I misunderstand what you said? You bring data into it?
I did not say data. I don't remember what I said. Hold on.
Isn't she cute? Oh my gosh.
Okay, so really.
By the way, hold on, let me educate you. There's a running joke in Lafayette that Mary Beth is my favorite agent. And y'all can see why. So there we go.
Bring her with you next time.
Yeah, there you go.
I would love that. I would love to come over. So it's a true, like, okay, clearly we have a couple of things we need to compromise on. You over here say that you're looking for 2 acres. You over here want to be in a subdivision. Before we even start to look at houses, we really need to decide which one is the most important and how we're going to compromise on that, because we're looking at 2 very different types of homes at probably 2 very different price ranges.
Good, okay. All right, what's the 5th one? What's the 5th need to know?
The upfront cost of entering a contract.
Oh, great. Okay, so tell us about that. And what is that, like, on average, what's that cost? Like, what's
On
it take
average,
to get
it's
in?
about $2,000.
Okay, and so how do you address that? How do you bring that up? The upfront cost is about $2,000. You got home inspection, you got appraisal, you know, you got all that stuff. You know, depending on the house, you could actually go bigger than that. And on the smaller house, you go less, but it depends on where you are. But there is some upfront cost. So how do you handle that conversation, Mary Beth?
So obviously it could stem off of the pre-approval, but really it is, okay, I just want you to be prepared, because if we start the home buying process, especially in a really fast-paced market that we're currently in, if we're standing in the house and it's checking all of your boxes, we need to be prepared to write an offer. And in order to do that, you're going to need an earnest money check, deposit check, up to probably around $1,000. There again, depending on the price. Your inspection is going to be about $500, and your appraisal is going to be about $500. Do you have this money set aside to enter a contract?
Okay, that's point blank, direct. Hey, I want you to just know that if we're going to get in this game and it's time to go and go fast, we're ready. She's also setting the expectation that if it checks all the boxes, going home and sleeping on it is not a good idea, right? So she's setting the expectation. A lot of this conversation is about, here's how it goes. And by the way, I'm really good at getting you to your dream home, but you got to follow my lead, right? And that's what you're doing there? So
that's exactly it. And to touch on, like, not showing, 25 houses to one buyer, that's exhausting for everyone involved. And I say this to them, like, the average client of mine will only look at 3 to 5 houses. If I am truly doing my job, we don't need to look at more than that. Okay,
time out. Would you say that again for everybody who showed 600 houses? You know who you are. I'm not going to call on you. You know who you are. Say
I
that
was
again.
there once. Ask me how I know this, because I was there. This is how I've learned. The average client of mine will not look at more than 3 to 5 houses, because if I am truly doing my job, we don't need to look at more than 5 houses.
All right, that's gold mine right there. That's gold mine right there. Okay. Mary Beth, can you take us real quick, take us to, you're showing a house. So you pulled up in the driveway. What do you do? Give us, I know I want to be respectful of your time. I know I told you 20 minutes. We're already going long.
I'm good.
Give us the, what do you do when you get out of the car, and how do you sell the house, and how do you get a yes, and how do you do that quickly? Give us the goods.
Nothing I do is quick. So I really point out everything. So first of all, I get there early. I prep the house, turn the lights on, familiarize yourself a little bit with the house so it's not like a surprise to both parties.
Wait, time out, Mary Beth. They don't ride with you. You drive your own car, and you want to get there early, correct?
Correct.
Why are you doing that? Tell them why. I know that's important, but tell them why.
They're for safety, for one. Also, to get there early and to be familiar with the house is just important.
Yeah. Sometimes the listing and the description of the listing doesn't match what you're going to show.
Yeah.
And so you got to be prepared. So you got to go in there and kind of get a lay of the land. By the way, if you're showing the must-haves when they walk in the house, and you know what their must-haves are, you want to show that first. If they say, hey, the one thing we got to have is an outdoor kitchen, a big backyard, and a pool, you take them there first. Get that? Is that right? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
But
Yeah.
we did kind of gloss over one thing, but that I do think is also very important is I do a certain level of homework before I show any house.
Tell us about that. What do you mean when you say do homework? Like you research the property?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to sell it. So I call the listing agent and I'm like, hey, here's the deal. I really want to sell this house for you. Tell me everything you know that's not on the MLS. And I'll make sure my buyer hears all the great things that, you know, the neighbors have fun parties or whatever. And sometimes they don't have anything. Sometimes they're irritated that I'm asking that question, but whatever. Also, I read through the property disclosure. I'm checking the boxes. Like that's another thing. In the consultation, it's more of a, hey, we're holding each other accountable here. You've given me your criteria. We're not going to look at houses that don't match this criteria. So if a client is saying they really want to see this house and it's only checking 2 of the 8 boxes that they have, then I am basically telling them we're not going to see this house. Let me find you another one down the street that maybe fits more boxes. That was a tangent.
Yeah.
So I'm calling the listing agent, making note of how old the air conditioning unit is. Hey, by the way, do you have the monthly utility bills on hand? Can you get that information for me? Anything that I can gain value that is not right in front of me in the MLS is really the gold.
Yeah. So what you don't want to have happen is them ask you a question and you say, I got to find that out, which prolongs the opportunity to write a contract. You'll get that? And so inherently, she wants to have all that information right there. So when they ask the question, she has the answer. So if they want to write, we can write right there. I say write. Digital now.
Yeah. It's about standing in front of the house and saying, okay, the roof is 14 years old. So it's about pointing out before they even have to ask. And they're like, oh, well, she kind of has her stuff together. She kind of knows what she's talking about. It's, presenting the information just like as you're walking through. I do want to point out also that something you asked the question, like, what do you do when you're inside the house? Like, how do you sell it or whatever?
Yeah.
Is point out the actual benefits versus the features. So like, oh, wow, this yard is so nice. Or, hey, you really wanted, like, you could envision your kids playing soccer. Can you see this? Like, look at the goal, like, paint the picture. And that's how
So you're basically putting them in their dream space in their new dream home. You're like, what does your furniture look like in here?
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what you're saying? Yeah. Yeah, look, his and her closets. Isn't that going to be nice? And sell that to the husband, right? Is that what you're doing? Yeah. All right, Mary Beth, thanks for joining us today. I'm gonna take it from here. Does anybody have any questions for her? I'm gonna kind of just take what she took off, and we're gonna let her go back and sell houses because it's still a couple of days left of the year. Go ahead.
Yeah, she said that she had something to tell us at the end. Did she already?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. What's the one thing you want to tell us at the end? Oh, she got notes, girl.
Okay,
By the way, Mary Beth is on my wife's team, Red Star team.
Yeah.
This group of ladies and a couple of gentlemen, they are professionals. They work on their trade. And when I say she's got notes, like Mary Beth's the original team member. And to say that she works on getting better at her job, it's like it's hours a week you work on getting better at what you do, right?
yes,
She's constantly investing in herself. That's what experts do. So, and then Mary Beth could probably sell more houses, but she's a mom. She's got 3 boys, and so she's got a whole world, and she sells houses like she wants to sell houses.
Right.
Is that fair, Mary Beth? Am I?
yes, that is fair. I have 3 small children, and so as y'all know, the flexibility of this job is almost why we do it, and I love it. But here's the deal. So do y'all see this triangle?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay. So as elementary as it is, when we're in the consultation, I literally show them this triangle. And each point has, one of them is a house, one of them is price, and one of them is location. And so what this illustration presents is I'm basically asking them permission. Like, okay, we're talking about this. This is going to be our accountability illustration.
Mary Beth, lean in again. We lost your sound.
Okay, can you hear me? This is so professional. So this triangle, can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can. We're all commenting on what a great smile you have. So anyway.
My parents paid a lot of money for that. Okay, so the triangle is so simple, but if we are standing in the house and the buyers are like, I don't know, like, what are we even doing here? And I'm like, listen, do you remember the triangle where we talked about the location and the price and the house? And if we are standing in a house that meets every single one of these check boxes, why are we not writing an offer today?
That's good stuff right there.
And it's called the perfect 10 because sometimes if we're like, okay, well, do we have to compromise a little bit on any of these things? And sometimes we're like, well, I mean, we could budge a little bit on our price range, or we can maybe expand our search on location. That just brings up more conversation because, like you said in the beginning, the more questions you ask, the more you know, the more, I mean, what totally just makes my day is when I find a house and I'm like, y'all, I found your house. We only need to look at one house. Like, this is it. Like, we're standing in your house. And they're like, we haven't looked at any houses. And I'm like, that's right, because this is the one. So.
Did you have a question? Did you want to ask the question? Yes.
Back to showing and getting there before the buyers.
Yes.
It's 3 houses. How do you beat them to the other 2?
Because she drives her own car. A lot of times she's already getting the intel from other people in the office. Because she drives her own car, she gets there fast. Is that fair?
That is true.
The first house.
She gets to the first house. In some cases, she's already gone to the other houses and previewed. Remember, she's not shown a bunch of houses. She only has to do it for 3. Right?
Okay.
Elaborate on that for us, Mary Beth. I don't want to steal your answer.
No, I mean, that's right. So previewing, I mean, a preview takes like less than 2 minutes, right? Unless it's like a massive house. But so a lot your scheduling so that you look, let's say you're looking at 3 houses. So you preview number 3, you preview 2, and then you get to number 1 early. The client meets you at number 1.
Perfect.
And then you go back to 2 and 3.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Good stuff, Mary Beth. All right, listen, I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much.
You're
If we can
welcome.
ever
Thank
send
you.
if we ever want to send you a referral, how do we do that?
Hey, so I answer my phone, and I would love for you to call me or text me or email me. I'm pretty easy to find, or we can be Facebook friends.
So
But
is it,
yeah,
it's Mary Beth what?
Mary Beth Walsh is my
At-
name.
At redstarteam.com?
Well, it's just Mary Beth at the redstarteam.com.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
And if we Google you, do you come up on the first page?
Probably. So there's a running joke in Lafayette. Well, it's not a joke. I actually coined it, but I have a hashtag like your favorite realtor with 2 names, because I have 2 names, Mary Beth.
Yeah.
And so Facebook that way.
This is good again.
With any referrals that y'all have, I promise I'll take great care of them.
All right. Thank you, Mary Beth. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Y'all give her a hand real quick. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Melissa, you want to turn us off? Thank you. Okay. So we're going to go back and review. Here's the time to ask questions. Okay. Here's one.